Michaela, I'm so happy to have you here. So for our Move More, Learn More community, this is the beautiful Michaela Lukes. She's going to tell us all about her. She's a physical education instructor at the Amsterdam International School, and I've been to her school twice. It's been such an honor. So I invited Michaela here to talk a little bit about physical education, but we need to start with who you are. What are your credentials? Because they're long. So you tell me.
Thank you, Dr. Lynn. Great that you have chosen me. I feel honored too. I feel also honored knowing you and that you came to our school and had a training which everybody really enjoyed. So it's the pleasure on my side. I come from Austria originally, and I did my studies at the University of Vienna. And I hold a master in PE and in English. And I'm qualified to teach in schools originally from 10 to 18 years old. But when I came to Amsterdam, I also specialized in the younger ages because I really enjoyed that. And I could feel that I really make a difference in the early years already. I teach at my school, International School of Amsterdam, since 28 years. I'm also the coordinator of the motor remedial teaching program. And I had a special training for that for a year. And I'm also interested in learning with movement, outdoors and indoors, and through movement, outdoors and indoors. So as often as I can, I try to take the kids outside.
I've got these questions, but I've got to just start with, how is getting outdoors in Amsterdam such a big part of the culture? I mean, it was very exciting to see all of these families riding bikes everywhere till like 2 a.m. So tell me a little bit about the outdoorsy culture in your society.
In Holland, I come from Austria, and it's also a lot outdoors there. Here in Holland, it's a lot with the bikes. It's really so much fun because they have safe bike paths. So it's really in their culture. Also, my own kids went to school by bike all the time. And that's very special because then you get awake in the morning when my kids had to bike 20 minutes, which is perfect because then your brain is also ready to learn. Mm-hmm. And other kids, when they went to the primary school, they had to walk 10 minutes. They even went by themselves because it's safe here. So I think it's very different to the States. But it has also changed in the last, especially since COVID. A lot of kids are brought by car. Mm-hmm. It has changed a lot. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It's still different, but I can see the changes also to the kids.
Mm-hmm. Now, do you, in your work, tell us a little bit about the types of classes that you teach and how many students you have and things like that?
Yeah, we are very privileged because I have small classes. And so I teach kids from all over the world, which makes it very, very special because I can learn from the kids and they learn from me. And what I really like is that I come from another country as well. So I know how hard it is to adapt and to go to another country and go to a new school. And these kids, some of them don't even speak English. So I admire them, how fast they actually adapt. Because it took me much longer, mostly like what the kids can do. Mm-hmm. So that's very special to help them and guide them and teach them. And yeah.
How does working with children from all around the world inform the activities that you do? Do you play like a broader range of games, as an example, because of the international flavor?
Yeah, the curriculum is really different from normal because, for instance, in the last years, we created a new unit, which is called Games All Around the World. And at the moment, I'm teaching that. And that's so much fun because I have done 2 lessons a week. And one lesson, then I teach the kids, for instance, then we take a continent for each week. This week we have Europe. So I teach them Dutch games, but also my own games from earlier days. So we make a combination. But the second lesson, the students teach themselves. They teach me and the other kids a game. So we prepared this a bit before, and this is so much fun. Also for the children to get independent and to be able to share their own culture, or where they have lived before, or their parents, or maybe whatever. And it's so much fun.
I'm so excited for the children who get to play with you because I've been in your gyms, I've seen some of the unique games that you play, and the collaboration that you've just described, having the kids teach other kids is so good on so many levels. It's just brilliant. Now,
Thank you.
what's some important messaging or things that your children learn when they're in your physical education classes? What do you think is important?
Yeah, of course, we are, as P teachers, responsible for the motor development, so for the gross motor skills. But then it also, we make them aware of that brain and body works together. I try to explain them already at a very early age that it's important, the connection between brain and movement and learning. So everything like this. Then the outdoor play I find very important. The social emotional development, which we can, health, of course. I tried them also to teach them focus, so focus better and the attention, because that has really changed in society and also in the kids.
Mhm.
And of course, falling. In the last, since I've been a PE teacher 30 years, I've noticed the kids find it so hard to fall. They hurt themselves much more than they used to be.
Mhm.
So I try also to have some falling games or something, yeah, so that they learn how to break a fall and not get hurt. Then I've also started to teach them a lot of self-regulation and emotion control, because that's just so needed. With all kinds of some mindfulness or yoga exercises or in a play way, because if I tell them, okay, we are doing now mindfulness or we're doing yoga, then sometimes they feel resistance. I mean, it depends on the culture, but I try to make it all more in games and play and yeah.
Mm.
Because sometimes they come in, you feel like, oh, they just have to get grounded, So you have to adapt as a PE teacher. It has really changed our role. And we have different units in PE when they get older, from 6-year-olds. The younger ones, we just have, play and developing the gross motor skills and music and movement and so on. And then when they get older, from grade 1 to grade 5, we have developed 5 different units throughout the year: cooperation, sportsmanship, risk taker, games around the world, and active living, which is then all related to health.
I love it.
And so and then we teach PE through that, or with it, or however you want to explain it.
Now, I want to mention something to our listeners. When I was at your school, I think it was the second time, that's when I got the tours of all of the gardens, and you
Mm-hmm.
walked me through this beautiful open encased area where I saw a gorgeous wooden slide, and I just was like, now I want that slide at our clinic. Yeah, I've told you that before.
Yeah.
But one thing that happened, and I don't know if you remember this, is we went outside and there was a big rock. I mean, it was maybe 10 feet high.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And there were children on top of the rock. But
Mm-hmm.
there were not adults within 30 feet. And I can't remember if I said it to you or one of the other directors. I was like, it made me anxious. And I was like, don't you think we should go over by the children? And I think it was you who said, oh no, Dr. Lynn, they know how to fall. I was like, these kids get direct instruction in how to fall. And that is so enlivening to me because it encourages healthy risk taking, things that are good for you. You know what I mean? Um,
Mm-hmm.
so I just will never forget that slide. And if I ever can buy a school, I'm going to model it after, just for our clinic, right? Much littler.
Yeah, and I'll make a picture for you from our playground, because
Okay.
we still have some forest left, which we call the
Um,
forest, so really big trees. We don't let them climb, the little ones not climb too high, just a little bit.
yeah.
So there are strict rules, and then when the supervisors really walk around.
Right.
But the rock is really a lot of fun for them. But it's in a soft, it's
Mhm.
around there, it's just, wood,
Yes.
the pieces of wood. I don't know
Yes.
the English word for it.
Yes.
And so that even if they fall, but I've never seen a kid really falling there badly, only
Right.
slipping down maybe and landing on the feet or something, but never. Yeah,
These are important skills that our children need to have. And do you know
they
that all that
do.
vestibular stimulation and the proprioceptive system?
Yes, they do.
Now, as we continue on, I had written a question here. What do you feel are important things for teachers and parents to know so that they can increase children's physical activity?
Yeah, I think they need to know the effects on movement on health and well-being, because often parents just ask me and then I just try to explain it in an easy way, because most of the time, or actually all the time, all the parents have the best intentions with their kids.
Yes.
But sometimes they just need a bit guidelines and a little bit support. So really have the emphasis on, because it's a new generation who are raising the kids now. They're different from our age, and it's a different way that the society has changed and the raising has changed. So sometimes I feel like I also have to help the parents to find a way of their lifestyle at home. How can they get a balance? Because often I have the feeling it's so overwhelming, all the choices they can make. They're busy in their work, in their jobs. And then in the leisure time, there's so much to do, so many opportunities. And sometimes the kids, it's just too much for them, because they come back Monday morning or after a holiday, and I feel like, they should be relaxed, they should be grounded. And they are not. And that has changed a lot in the last 10, 15 years. And before, because my first 10 years when I was a PE teacher, so from 30 years ago until 20 years ago, that was not the case.
Right.
It was just more calmness, or Do you know what I mean?
Oh, we are seeing the same thing. That's why I'm talking to people all around the world this week, specifically about, so I learned from my friend Deb Lund, who's an OT, to fish therapy in St. Pete, Florida, not Tampa, St. Pete. And anyway, we've been having these conversations literally like in Walmart parking lots on a Saturday. She'll text me another thought. And we've been talking about how children in this era, many of them do not know how to upregulate and then downregulate. So they get up and they don't know how to come down. So I've been teaching parents in our practice that we don't want to do it for them. We want to teach them the skills so that they can coach their own brain and coach their own body. But I absolutely concur with you. We are seeing that. And I'm hopeful and excited. I think that we're going to get back to a lot more play and art and movement, because people are starting to really recognize children are not supposed to sit still all day. So I'm optimistic. And I'm
Me
happy
too.
that
Me too.
yeah, you are too. Good. Because I've been practicing 32 years. So you and I are similar in terms of when we entered our careers.
Yeah. And I mean, one of the biggest issues and the biggest challenges is all the screen time from the kids. So it has started now that for instance, we just got a phone-free campus. But also there's all the screens, what are used it's just too much. The brain from the kids, they have made all, I don't have to tell you about research. It's just not possible. It's I'm aware, I think at least in America, I don't know if this is happening in Europe where you are, but these companies, not to criticize them, they're trying to make products, ed tech products that help. But why do we always get so extreme? Why can't we have a little balance? A little bit of stuff on a screen is okay, and then a lot of play and singing and dancing. I don't know why we just got so, it's just so unbalanced at the moment. I think we have reached now, for my feeling, we have reached now really the bottom. So I felt already, okay, we are on the way, going steps up. But there needs to come a balance. For me, it's completely unbalanced in society and also, at school also. I mean, it is very tough, but there is no balance. And it has to start from the parents, because of course they're raising their children. For instance, when we went home from Austria now and we had dinner in an Italian restaurant, we just had a quick pizza. So we didn't have to wait long. So it was not a fancy restaurant, whatever. Easy. And there was another family sitting next to us, and one of their kids was just, I think, about 2 years old. And while she was eating her pizza, she had the phone from dad for watching a movie. But all the time, because my kids were never not doing that, of course, because I was really strict with everything. So they realized before me, because I had such a nice conversation, because our kids are now, our son and daughter are now adults, and we don't have them often with us. So that was such a nice family dinner on the way back.
Mm-hmm.
But they realized before me, and I said, look at this. And I said, Mom, this has been going on for half an hour. I said, this can't be true. I couldn't believe it. So this is just one example what just has to change.
It will change. It will change. So I'm going to mention to you, and then I'm going to get to the last question, because I'm seeing that we've almost used our time. My friend Sue Atkins in the UK, I'm going to introduce you to her on LinkedIn, because she is working with a worldwide consortium around being a healthy digital citizen. And they have produced a lot of really useful content that I would love to introduce you to her and her consortium colleagues. And then you can use it. Okay, so where do you see this field, your field, going in the next decade?
I think that PE teachers will become also health and wellness teachers, because that's what I feel now already a bit. So we need, because there's the need in society, what we have just discussed. So we need to support socially, emotionally, and with gross motor skills, because they have also decreased. I've seen that in my motor remedial teaching program. And the balanced lifestyle, what we have discussed, there needs to be a balance between rest, movement, nutrition, also super important. And I think, that needs to go a bit in this direction as well. But that's just my personal feeling for when I look around in society, in my school, and everywhere.
You know, I'm thinking that the Shape America, which is our big physical education organization, their annual conference is this month. And one of our authors, Andy Milne, is speaking at that conference. And I really think it would be smart if you applied to speak there next year, if it's on the East Coast. If it's not on the East Coast, then we'll wait, because Amsterdam's very far from but I think I don't know where it's going to be next year. But I really think it would be very helpful for American PE teachers to hear the European perspective. I think that I've been to Europe maybe 6 or 7 times in the past few years, maybe since 2018. And I've really changed what I do. I think I've even become a little bit of a calmer person, because like my husband and I were talking the other day, we were in Amsterdam with you. And I said, Ricky, do you notice how quietly people speak? Do you notice that there's no one's yelling? They're just talking quietly. You go to the British Airways, the lounge, and everyone's just having a nice, proper, quiet conversation. And I'm a pretty noisy person. And at work, we have 2 sides. Psychiatry and counseling is on the other side. So we call that the quiet side. And then I tease children who are new to our practice, Wellington Alexander. I give them a tour and I show them the quiet side. And then I say, now we're on the noisy side. Where do you think I work? They're like, you work on the noisy side. Yeah, but I had to learn in Europe to even hold my body smaller. And do you notice that? Do you notice this kind of gentil that goes on in Europe that I don't think happens here?
I totally get you, but it depends so much. It depends on personality. It depends on the country, because it can be very different. I've been to the States 5 times. I always loved it. I also learned a lot. It's very different, but also in Europe, because, I grew up in Austria, in Vienna, and I've lived now here in Holland for 30 years, which gives me also a big perspective of different countries. My husband is Dutch, so that's also different culture, but tiny compared to if you compare all the other continents, of course.
Right.
But I can see your point.
But I think you're right too. The area I'm talking about that's like that is like Prague, Amsterdam, because if you go to Sicilia or Italia,
they have a lot of
very noisy and boisterous and eating while they talk,
and temperament there.
Okay, we almost have to get going. I hope I'm going to Europe in September and October. So hopefully, whether you fly over to say hello to me, I hope that we get to see each other face to face. And I just wonder, in closing, I'm very grateful that you hung out with us. Very grateful. Are there any resources or websites or people? Maybe you want to talk about Wim van Gelder. Tell us some things we don't know that we can learn from.
yeah, I think I've learned most in all my trainings I did with Wim van Gelder. He's a Dutch expert on motor remedial teaching and on learning with movement and all kinds of. And he works also together with other experts. So I've done a lot of trainings there. I've learned really a lot there. In the beginning, it was challenging because it was all in Dutch for me. And I was, of course, I had to learn it myself. But Dutch is similar to German, and my mother tongue is German.
Okay.
So that was also good for my Dutch, because then I got fluent in it. But here I learned a lot. So that is really, and he has written a lot of books, and also colleagues from him. So yeah, I have learned a lot out of
His personality is so infectious. I really, really, really like him. He is
He's
so
a great
friendly.
speaker.
He's a great speaker. He's so friendly and accessible. And he really is the main PE guy in Holland, the whole country. But he doesn't act like it. You know, he acts friendly and thoughtful, and he's
Yes.
full of energy, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm so glad that you introduced, me to him. And we are going to have a conference probably on the East Coast also, April 2027. And so maybe you and Wim could come over for that and we
I
could,
would love to if you
yeah.
want to have me.
Yeah. No, I think that I'm just thinking we might have a Move More, Learn More conference in New York. So let's keep that front of mind.
Yeah.
Is there anything else? We've got to go, but is there anything else you want to share before we say so long?
Let me just have a check my notes. I think we had a great conversation. I said everything. No, it's fine. Yeah,
I
perfect.
so appreciate you sharing your knowledge with us, Michaela, and I hope I get to see you soon.
Thank you, Lynn. Hope to see you soon in person. But this was also very, very nice. Thank you for interview or for the conversation.
Okay. Have
Thank
a
you.
beautiful, beautiful day.
Bye.
Bye.